Hey everyone, Guitars N70 here, and today I will be outlining for you my top 10 favorite guitarists of all time. So just remember, this is my favorite list of guitarists. And I know this is a dangerous subject because people get very protective of their guitarists, their favorite guitarists or whatever, and I think I do the same thing when I listen to other people's lists. I'm all like, what? You included them, but you didn't include them? Why did you put this person on there? Oh, your list is terrible. But please just remember, it's just my top 10 favorite guitarists. I'm not saying any of these guitarists, maybe in some way I'm saying they're a little bit better than these others, but these are the guitarists that speak to me. But before I get started, before I reveal the list, I'd like to ask if you like the video to please hit that like button and please consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out a lot, and I want to meet all of you people and be able to talk to you. So without further ado, let's get going. Number 10, the bottom spot on a top 10 list. And also, let me just say too, even though I'm nobody, right? If you make it on anyone's top 10 list, I mean, I would be completely stoked no matter what I did. If I was a, mechanic or a painter or whatever, and I make it on somebody's top 10 list, I mean, I would think that's a big deal. So, hey, if these guys are listening, you're lucky to be on my list. Anyway, number 10, Alex Lifeson of Rush. Alex Lifeson of Rush, big influence on my at least my listening habits. I don't know if he really influenced my playing much, but it was instrumental in my musical progression, I guess. It was the first album that I ever really dropped on my turntable was Moving Pictures. And, way back in probably 82, I think it was 1982 when I heard it. It came out in 81. But anyway, going back and listening to their, other songs in their catalog, his solo that really spoke to me, a couple of them, was just chaotic and just awesome. Free Will is a killer solo. He's just all over the place, which is really kind of out of context for him. He's usually pretty controlled and, very melodic most of the time. But that spoke to me, and also, and if you think about it, like in Grand Finale on 2112, and some of the songs, he was just kind of all over the place. So very, he just went for it, and I always liked that. And he never did the same thing over. It seemed like he was always kind of creating and trying new stuff. So Alex Lifeson, awesome guitarist, awesome band. Moving on, number 9, Randy Rhoads. I know I'm going to catch some flack for this one. Number 9, Randy Rhoads. Okay, look, he could be number 1 on a lot of people's lists, and I'm not trying to impugn his work in any way, shape, or form. And I'm going to stop saying this because I know I could say this for every guitar player and trying to defend them while I'm placing him 9th. Randy Rhoads is awesome. Love his music. Really, mostly kind of as a composer and just an overall, seemed like he had an overall understanding of many parts of the guitar. He did classical, he was a teacher. Just too many great solos to list. Some notables for me, obviously Crazy Train, was killer, but everything that he did on Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman, I think, is a notable solo. So, and of course the live stuff that we now hear recordings of was great too. So, number 9, Randy Rhoads. Moving on, number 8. I have my notes here too because I can't remember all this stuff. Number 8 might shock some people, but Brad Gillis of Night Ranger, and for a short stint with Ozzy on Speak of the Devil. And the reason why I place Brad Gillis number 8, I loved Night Ranger growing up. I mean, let's just get it out there. I still love Night Ranger now. Maybe not so much that, I haven't listened to anything they've put out in the last 30 years, but I'm talking about Dawn Patrol. I'm talking about Midnight Madness. I'm talking about Seven Wishes, those albums there. Even Big Life too. I like that album as well. But Night Ranger was stainless steel rock, is the way me and my buddy Phantom F4 Phantom. He comments on a lot of my videos. We go way back, and he always said, that was like stainless steel rock. Night Ranger, and it was a perfect way to describe it. But anyway, as far as Brad Gillis's playing goes, can't find me a thrill. So Can't Find Me a Thrill, Can't Buy Me a Thrill. I think it was Can't Find Me a Thrill, was song about cocaine, and an absolutely killer solo. I don't think he did any solos that were just where he just mailed it in. Everything was super, he was whammy bar centric on a lot of his Night Ranger stuff, but if you ever get a chance to see his live performance of Speak of the Devil with Ozzy when he was filling in right after Randy died, make no mistake, Brad Gillis has all the goods, and he seems to be a really cool guy, and I just love his playing. Always have, always will. Moving on, number 7, Vivian Campbell of Dio, and now of Def Leppard. Love Vivian Campbell, not a secret. I try to cover some of his songs and solos. His first 3 albums, really, unmatched. Holy Diver, Last in Line, Sacred Heart. Some of the best metal music that's ever been written has actually been penned, at least in part, by Vivian Campbell. Jimmy Bain was big in the writing process too, the bass player, and the late great Ronnie James Dio. And every song is notable in my opinion for Vivian Campbell, but Rainbow in the Dark, Last in Line, I'll even go so far as to say Rainbow in the Dark and Last in Line are 2 of, in my opinion, the greatest solos that have ever been written for metal music. Why is he number 7 then? I couldn't tell you. Because maybe his complete body of work, it all equals out. But I'm just taking those 2 particular songs, and you're not going to find much better than those 2 songs, as far as that goes. So Vivian Campbell, number 7, well deserved. Number 6, Warren DeMartini of Rat. So Warren DeMartini, he always, just reminded me of the young gunslinger, and that's exactly what he was. He was just a skinny thing, right out of high school, and when he joined Rat or whatever, and oh my God, the guy's playing. The reason I love his playing so much is that the phrasing on all of his solos are just, it's just incredible. I love the phrasing, the way he ties his notes together, the pauses, those types of things when I talk about phrasing, if you don't know. He's his playing style is a lot like George Lynch, who I think if anyone's watched my channel, I love George Lynch. And but what sets Warren apart from George is I think that Warren's phrasing is a little bit more, in some of his solos, a little bit more interesting to me. Not all of them, but in some of them. So anyway, Way Cool Jr., I really like that. It's kind of a departure from what he did, but Back for More, and there's just a ton of solos from him. Loving You's a Dirty Job, Body Talk. Those are all killer. He's got those notes where he just stings the note and just, he pulls a Spinal Tap. He just lets it carry over the music in the background. He's not in a hurry, and he can play super fast, and he can blaze. He's a gunslinger, but he doesn't always do it all the time. He lets the notes breathe. He lets the music breathe, and it really makes his solos come to life, and I love that. Number 5. So breaking into the top tier, I have Jimmy Page at number 5. I know that my backdrop over here is Jimmy Page. I know that I've said it's actually, you can see it right there. I know I've said he's the man, he's this and that. He is the man. All these guys are amazing, but in thinking of it and placing it all together, today he rated number 5. But Jimmy Page he's a master. He's an absolute master. He's written the blueprint for everything. there were others, obviously Hendrix and things like that, but he's laid the groundwork for what you're hearing from a lot of, even Alex Lifeson. I mean, you can hear the Jimmy Page influence with Lifeson, and just countless others, and they even mention Page as a big influence in their playing. But his chordal structure, his songwriting ability, everything that he's done, iconic, classic. Page at number 5. Number 4, we have, and it's going to shock some people maybe, Matthias Jabs of the Scorpions at number 4. Matthias, his playing is absolutely incredible. I've mentioned it in another video where I talk about the sound coming from a player's hands. And Matthias is one of those players. And the example I gave was Bad Boys Running Wild. If you want to hear the solo, listen to the solo and listen to what he's doing with his hands. You can hear him lifting them up off the strings. You can hear him switching positions. And the producers wisely chose to leave that in the mix. They did not edit that out. And it just sounds awesome. But I just think of him as just absolutely squirrely. Like he's always got some squirrely shit going on in the background. As soon as the good times roll, and his hard times gone, you hear him in the back. He's just getting all crazy back there, and it's like that. You can't reproduce that. Like I've heard other people try to play it. No, it's not happening. It's only Matthias. He's the one, and it's that recording, that particular recording. Bad Boys Running Wild. As soon as the good times roll. You got, Blackout, No One Like You, Dynamite. I mean, these songs he's just going off. Love Matthias, man. I love Matthias. Just can't get enough of his playing. Number 3, Neil Shone. The great Neil Shone of Journey. How do you beat the hair? I mean, have you seen videos of him back in the day with Journey from the Midnight Special and some of the other shows that had Journey playing live on there? Don Kirshner's rock concert, Burt Sugarman's Midnight Special, and he's just got this fro. It's like this tall, it's moving. It's like, it's just awesome. But let me tell you, Neil Shone, man, I've seen him at G3. I saw him on stage with, I believe it was Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, Yngwie Malmsteen. No, Yngwie wasn't there. It was the year with Eric Johnson. These guys aren't slouches. In fact, they could be on anyone's list at the top, right? And none of them made my list, but they could have. And Neil Shone was kind of a guest. He came out later. Nobody knew Neil Shone was going to be there. He laid waste to all of them. In my opinion, he was the best guitarist on the stage, and he was tearing it up. That is so in a shredder type of way. Like it wasn't just him playing his blistering melodic solos, but he was tearing it up full on. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. And as far as his melodic solos go, unmatched. I mean, what's my favorite one is oh my God, I'm gonna forget the name, but it's the one about the cars, and the driving. I can't remember the name of it, but he has so many great melodic solos, and I love every one of them. So good job, Neil Shone, making number 3 on TJ's list. Number 2, Yngwie Malmsteen. This one should draw some hate. I know he's a love him or hate him kind of guy. I'm a love him kind of guy. Yngwie's always had a chip on his shoulder ever since he came over from Sweden. I don't think a lot of people care for his personality. I think he calls it like he sees it. He's made some very notable statements over the years where it's like, people have said less is more. He's like, no, more is more. Like, what are you talking about? More notes, more is more. I remember dropping that Marching Out was one of the first albums that I purchased when I got my own room. I think it was the first album that I purchased myself. It wasn't the first one that I dropped on a turntable, but it was the first one that I actually purchased. Marching Out, it's never been the same, you know. I'm a Viking, and the song Marching Out, On the Run Again, killer, Soldier Without Faith, I think is the name. And then I went and bought, well, after I heard that, I went and had to get Rising Force, and Far Beyond the Sun just changed it. Far Beyond the Sun changed my life. Like, I was like, there's no possible way that could be real. And still, the best particular run, happens at the end of that song that I've ever heard laid down before. And still to this day, I don't care who it is. I mean, you could be talking about dude from Dragon Force or any of these other guys that are just, you know, it's just Speedballs or whatever. That, as it was recorded, that last run, absolutely sick. So, Yngwie, number 2. And number 1, you guessed it, the man behind me, to my left, my right, to my left, whatever. Mr. Scary himself, Mr. George Lynch. Now, let me just say, like, I just bought that George Lynch ESP, and did he make the top spot because I just bought that? Maybe. I mean, some of these guys are kind of interchangeable, like the top 3, 4, 5. They're never going to fall out of that. You know, they're always going to be there, but whoever gets the top spot, like if you polled me next week and said that, you know, maybe I say that Yngwie is number 1, or, you know, one of these other guys is number 1 or whatever. But right now, George Lynch, and he's probably never going to do worse than number 2, you know, George. But, and the reason I say that is because George, you know, I just have a connection with Dawkins, and now I have a connection with George. You know, I opened the show, or was one of the first couple bands to open the show with Lynch Mob. He signed my guitar. But more than that, the days of Dawkins, Tooth and Nail, Under Lock and Key, Kiss of Death, I mean, those were my high school days, man. And, you know, girlfriends in high school, you always want to, you know, give them a song, you know, dedicate a song to them. You call up the radio station and dedicate a song to your girlfriend, or make a mixtape or something like that. Like, wasn't that just the best? I mean, and what better to fill your mixtape with than ballads from Dawkins and Night Ranger? And definitely not going to give her, you know, an Yngwie Malmsteen one, but whatever. So George Lynch is playing. I don't think I need to go into it. It's just absolutely scorching, and it's actually diverse too, because when he did, he went off and did his own album early in the 90s. He did Sacred Groove, I think it was up after Lynch Mob, and had all these different kinds of tones and things like that were just amazing. So congratulations, George Lynch. You made my top spot in the TJ, in the Guitars End 70 top 10 favorite guitarists. And I know somebody's going to say, what about Eddie Van Halen? What about Steve Vai? What about, you know, look, all of those guitarists are amazing. But what I can say, like, and I'll just speak to one, Eddie Van Halen. I love Eddie Van Halen. Rest in peace. His solos never spoke to me. I mean, they were great, and I love Van Halen, absolutely. I think Hot for Teacher, you know, I really dug that solo, and everything off of Van Halen 1. I mean, there's countless ones that you kind of, you know, a toe tapper, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool stuff. But it never really spoke to me to make me want to go pick up my guitar. I don't know one Van Halen song. I don't know one Van Halen solo. And it's not because I can't play it. I could. I just never, I would rather use that time to learn solos from, you know, Lynch and Shone and all the other people on my list and countless others. And I just didn't do it. So, you know, I'm just being honest. But I do love Eddie, and I love everyone for sticking around, if you did stick around for the entire video, or even if you watched 1 minute of it. All right, so hope you have a great night, and I'll talk to you soon.